Hello, my name is Brody Gasper, and today I will be giving a speech on why we need civics classes in high school. So, in the country we live in, the United States of America, civics classes are very important because it tells us how our government is supposed to operate and how we, the people, have a say in our government. We have this little thing you see called democracy. Democracy is very important. It's where the people are in charge of how the government's supposed to work. Voting is a necessary part of that. However we vote, we put those people that we want into power, such as the President of the United States. An interesting quote from Nancy Pelosi, who's the minority leader of the House, is that voting is a civic sacrament, a responsibility that we all have as Americans. And that's true because whoever we vote for gets to sit in that seat of power we elect them to. So, big problem in the United States of America, though, is that many high schools do not require civics classes. So many people do not know how they have a say in it. So they do not realize that the power is to the people. They have the power to literally change which way their government can go. They have their fate controlled. So it's a big problem when civics classes aren't introduced to high school systems, because then students do not know what they are getting involved to when they are 18. So many people do not vote because they do not care about it. Just another thing, on the side that they could do if they really wanted to, but they don't necessarily understand what's the problem with not voting, because if we didn't vote, we would possibly put people in charge that we didn't want to. So in order to make people aware of what's going on in the nation, I suggest that we would do mandatory civics classes in high school. And I would say that because if high schoolers or even kids younger than that did not understand what they were going to grow up to in their country when they turned 18 and became of eligible age to vote, then they would not be able to exercise their rights that they have under democracy. And as I said, they have the right to vote in our nation, which enables them to put who they want in charge, to say where they want their country to go. So the solution to that would be to make civics classes mandatory. This would enable the people to learn about such things as the amendments, and the amendments are very necessary because they tell us how our nation is going to run. It's like, the amendments are like extra set of rules. We have famous ones that have freed African Americans from slavery and allow women to vote. There are a few ones in there that are a little unnecessary, like prohibition, which was recalled. But the amendments help us to understand how our nation is supposed to work and the rules that come with it. And if we don't know how those amendments, then that's a big problem. And most people coming out of high school don't know that because civics classes aren't mandatory. They're not even really important. They're just something you can do on the side for elective credits, and that doesn't help anybody. In the United States, if we want people to be responsible for their actions and to put our country in a place where we want to be, then we need people to understand what candidates are vying for, what they really want to happen. If the people voting don't know candidates, like if they don't understand the topics, then they won't choose necessarily right if they don't know everything going on with that topic. If per se something like, if we went back to the 19th century when slavery was still a thing and there were people vying to maintain slavery, and people didn't understand why that was necessarily a morally wrong thing to do, then people would never vote to get rid of it. They would never have voted somebody such as Abraham Lincoln into office, who throughout his term abolished slavery, and that was an important thing that freed many people. So, as I said, we have freedom as Americans to choose where we want our country to go. This is a very big responsibility. We have a big play in the government, and people who don't know what's going on can easily be undermined into doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So here we can see this yellow bar. I don't know if you can see it that well, but this yellow and golden bar here shows the global average in 2014, and it says it's at 62.7%. And if you look at the US bar, it shows that it's at 47.5%, so less than half the eligible registered voting population of the United States of America doesn't even participate in one of the most important events in our history, which is voting. Not knowing what we're getting into when we vote can lead to such situations as this. So these were three infamous dictators in the history of the world. On the left, you have Joseph Stalin. In the middle, you have Adolf Hitler, and on the right, you have Mao Zedong. Now, all three of these men were evil people. They killed millions of people, and they were all put into power by their own people. Adolf Hitler was elected to the office by the president of Germany, and he had a massive support of the people. And they didn't know everything that was going on. As many people recall afterwards, they didn't realize just how evil he was at the beginning, and they thought he was actually doing good for their country. Joseph Stalin had a lot of support of the people too, but he was, as I said, a very evil man who killed, some people say, around 60 to 80 million people during his reign. And many people still supported him for it because they didn't understand what was going on. And Mao Zedong is by far the most infamous dictator of them all, because he killed somewhere between 80 to 120 million people. People still supported him after his acts of terrorism against his own people, because they thought that he was a good person, and they thought he was taking their country to the place where it should be. So, with these three dictators, freedom was restricted and all power went to them. The people of their countries had no power in their government. They weren't able to control anything going on like we are. They didn't get to vote. All these leaders stayed leader for a lifetime. They were dictators for life. Their people lost all of their power to replace these people, and so their country suffered. So, in conclusion, as the United States of America, in order for our country to prosper and to grow, we need to make civic classes mandatory in high schools, because it will enable us to understand just how important our government is and how it runs, and it will allow people coming right out of high school and turning at the age of 18 to vote. It will allow them to understand just how big of an importance it is, and it will stop us from getting such dictators as Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong. Thank you for your time.